now to imagine with me a single thread. Think of a single thread in your school community. On its own, it's fragile, it's easy to snap. This thread represents the reality of the way that we sometimes work in isolation in schools. This might be a teacher facing a classroom alone and feeling overwhelmed, or a parent who's struggling without the safety net that they need, or maybe a nonprofit trying to support a family in a vacuum. Individually, when we work in these silos, we're really limited by our own reach. Next slide, please. But what we're here to talk about today, the community school strategy, is all about weaving together these separate threads into something stronger. In the community school strategy, we're not just adding programs, we're actually integrating educators, families, mental health providers, and local government. When we pull in these resources for housing, for food security, for career readiness, we aren't just stacking them, we're interweaving them. And this creates a fabric that can provide the warmth, the comfort, and a stable foundation for every student to grow in our schools. Next slide, please. And as we interweave these pieces through our schools, what we're doing is we are changing the fabric. Things are becoming more interwoven. The fabric is becoming tighter, and the fabric changes. Our threads become more than the sum of their parts because they're interwoven together. They become supportive and impenetrable. And the better we get at this, the better we get at this stitching, the more we refine our communication and trust, the more expansive our reach together becomes. So a tight weave of these threads doesn't just catch students when they fall, it even provides the tension they need to propel themselves forward. Next slide, please. And as we think about the community school strategy, every thread in the weave that we're creating in schools is critical. You can see from this image here that and this design that no one stands alone in a community school. What we're really talking about is an entire community coming together, being interwoven into a school community to support students and families. And we know that this weave can fail if a thread or a voice is missing. So when we think of students and families, they're experts in their own lives. And what we're talking about is a level of lived experience that can help create a stronger fabric, create a stronger color, a stronger pattern in our fabric. So students and families and their voices are critical in this weave. Our educators can see the challenges and triumphs firsthand. They often understand a really deep level of what is happening in our school communities. And their relationships with students and families help hold the strategy together and ensure our schools are places of stability and care for students, for families, for educators, and for community. And the community partners we can think of, including places like neighborhood associations, nonprofits, local faith leaders, government, higher education. They all keep us rooted in our community, and they provide new threads and new resources that we can weave together to add strength to our schools, to add strength to the fabric that we're building together. Every thread that's represented here is really critical. It's a necessary component of this supportive system. And it is when we weave these threads together that they create our community school fabric. Next slide, please. Now, how we stitch these threads together is just as important as the threads themselves. So as we think of interweaving all of these voices through a school community, parents, educators, students, community partners, government, social service providers, we have to stitch them very intentionally. And in a community school, we use 6 evidence-based best practices to ensure the fabric holds and stays strong. If you're not familiar with this image, this is the Essentials for Community School Transformation, and you can access this using that QR code that we have on the screen here. This is the framework for what guides our work to be intentional and to really achieve big impact. So we're looking at the what here. The resources that make the fabric relevant to the neighborhood. We're thinking of integrated systems of support, How do we coordinate academic, health, and social services so they're seamless and accessible in our school community rather than just a disorganized pile of resources? This is the no random acts of programming that you hear sometimes from the National Center for Community Schools. Expanded and enriched learning opportunities. We're talking about weaving in after school and summer and during school programs that give students the time and space to explore their passions and to connect their learning to the real world. Community connected classroom instruction. This is where we bring the world into the school and the school into the world. This is when we call upon community experts to help connect additional academic support to our students. And it's how we make sure that what students learn is rooted both in their own community's history, it feels culturally relevant to them, and it also helps prepare them for a future in the workforce. But these resources and voices alone aren't enough. We need the how. We need the actual needle that threads are weaved together. And that comes from this piece of collaborative leadership. So this is where this idea of us sharing power in schools, it's this idea of a school shouldn't have to do all of this alone, but we want to engage community resources and parents and students in being co-designers, in being partners in weaving what this fabric looks like to support our schools. So this is the practice of ensuring educators, principals, community partners, students, families are all at the table making decisions together and co-designing what these resources look like in our school. And we have this person, a community school coordinator, who plays a critical role being the needle that's continuing to identify and weave new threads together through our community school. Powerful student and family engagement is where we don't just inform families of what's happening in the school and invite them to those events, but we treat them as co-creators and co-designers in what happens. We call upon their lived experience and their voices to help create the threads that give the fabric its unique color and strength together. And through all of this, we create a culture of belonging, safety, and care. And this is the essential final stitch. It ensures that every student, every staff member, every family member, every partner feels safe, feels seen, and feels valued for exactly who they are. And their voices give vibrancy and the strength that we need to make our fabric strong. When we're intentional about using these 6 key practices and weaving all of these community voices and threads together, we create a resilient, impenetrable fabric that can really support our communities and make our schools stronger. Next slide, please. So all in all, when we do the community school strategy right, we are creating a culture that centers hope, love, and collaboration. We create a community that's warmer, it's more comforted against the chaos and the hurt of the world. As you meet your colleagues from across the West today, I'd invite you to look for ways to connect your own thread to theirs and learn from the way that they're stitching their threads together in their local community. So, as we move forward today, I'd invite you to take a deep breath. And I'd invite you to recenter yourself in this space. I'd invite you to try and cancel out the noise of the chaos and the hurt that's happening in the world and really focus on your voice and the hope that you can bring into this space. Remember, this work is big, but it starts with you. It starts with an individual thread, bringing the vision and the heart into the space and the willingness to weave these different threads together to make a stronger school, a stronger community. Before we move forward, I'm going to invite you to take a collective breath.